We believe it is very important to get these people vaccinated. There is a plan, should these people not want to be vaccinated, towards education and counseling to get people the information they need so that they are feeling comfortable in getting vaccinated.
So educating and counseling the unvaccinated? I did not see that coming. Pun intended. Seems very Orwellian, given everything that we know about the CDC and how they follow the science. Joining me now to break all this down is Dr. Nan Hayworth. She's a former New York Congresswoman and was the first female physician in Congress. And she's also with the Independent Women's Forum. Dr. Hayworth, thank you so much for joining me. Good to see you. I don't think I want counseling from the CDC. They say to follow the science, but they can't even get pronouns correctly. What's your response to hearing that?
The threat of losing your job and your livelihood, coupled with this use, I don't know, just even use of the term education and counseling. We're going to educate and counsel you, and if you make the wrong decision nonetheless, you're going to lose your job. Well, that's not education and counseling, that's coercion. So I find it all alarming, and you can look at it from many different perspectives, but certainly just scientifically. If this were Ebola virus, God forbid, then I could understand why we would have a 5-alarm program going on to get everybody vaccinated. That's not COVID. And so there's no scientific reason to do this, and there's every reason constitutionally not to have this kind of precedent. But as you and I both know painfully well, Dana, this is not an administration that is at all worried about our constitutional rights in any form.
This also, Dr. Hayworth, used to from this party, we would hear that, the patient's relationship with their doctors that's a sacred thing. That was a sacred relationship. You need to be able to trust the medical professionals that you see. And what gets me is I've spoke every doctor that I see annually and my children's pediatrician, I've talked with each of them in depth on all of these developments with these vaccines. And what really amazed me, the one thing they all had in common is they did not know, they knew about as much as I did with, obviously they had certain medical insight and expertise. But in terms of, things that like long research data that would support or answer some of the questions about adverse reactions, they couldn't answer any of those questions. And it just seems that instead of the government kind of doing this, maybe just, have medical professionals provide them with, just be transparent with them and have them explain it. But they haven't done that. Why is that, you think?
Again, this is an administration that is determined to impose an authoritarian structure on our society for many motivations. And I know we've talked about some of them, but you're absolutely right that the proper way to do this would be to entrust medical professionals and Americans themselves with learning about these vaccines and with making the decision to receive them or not. That's clearly antithetical to what this administration wants to do, which is to mandate these vaccines in any way they can. And federal contractors, of course, now, are looking at vaccine mandates. That's one thing that from the federal level they can do, threaten you with loss of your business with the federal government if you don't vaccinate all your employees. And for what? And people have legitimate questions, Dana, because ever since the beginning of this pandemic, we have seen, I'm a science person, obviously. I have faith in science, but scientists are human beings. And I have lost a lot of faith, unfortunately, in a lot of the people who are at the top of our health science establishment in this country. So it's perfectly legitimate for people to wonder, when is the next bit of adverse information going to drop. I'm not sure I trust this new technology. We do see some adverse effects, especially in young people. I look, and I got the Pfizer vaccine. I'm grateful to have had it. It's all good. I think it's good to get the vaccine if you need it. But the role of natural immunity has been completely ignored. We're going to now start mass vaccinating children who, number one, don't need it. And number two, events may show evidence of significant adverse effects in a massive population. The FDA reviewers even said so in their joint call about this.
Is there a specific reason why we aren't doing antibody tests along with COVID tests? And then if someone, is required to get the vaccine, they can present that test, the antibody test, as, just as good as having the vaccine-induced somewhat immunity? Or is that just, do they not have any standards to verify that? I kept trying to think, is there a good reason why they aren't including that?
The preponderance, let's put it that way, the preponderance of evidence supports the logical expectation, and in fact, this does seem very much to be the case, that natural immunity is superior to vaccine-induced immunity. And I am not, again, not disdaining vaccines in any way. But natural immunity is superior. There's no medical reason, there is zero medical reason not to test people for antibodies. It's a certain amount of expense, but frankly, so is mass vaccination of the population. So no, it should be, if people are being asked to be vaccinated or to prove immunity, or to be vaccinated because then we know they'll be immune, by all means, they should absolutely be offered the opportunity to test not only their B-cell immunity, which is the antibodies circulating in your body, those eventually fade away, but your T-cell immunity can also be tested, and that's your body's immune memory. If you have T-cell immunity, that is going to be beneficial to you. And we know that these vaccines, the antibodies fade pretty fast, Dana. So they're not sterilizing immunity. That's why boosters are being offered, especially in vulnerable populations. But T-cell immunity will help you to fight off the virus so that you don't get deathly ill. And that's really kind of the whole goal of this vaccine program.